Okay, it says use the histogram to answer questions 6 and 7. So, number 6 says, how many more students were there in grades 5 through 8 than in grades 1 through 4? So we have to look at the histogram and look to see. 5 through 8, there were 70, and 1 through 4, there were 55. So what we're going to do, if we want to know how many more, we're going to subtract those two. And when we subtract those two, we get 15. Number 7 says John is in grade 10. And which bar does he fall? So we want to look to see where would 10 fit in, which of these categories would 10 fit into. And 10 would obviously fit in between 9 and 12. The next part says use the box plot below to find the values. The first part is my median, and so we know the median is the one that's inside the box, so my median is 30. My IQR, my interquartile range, that's my upper quartile minus my lower quartile. So my upper quartile is going to be the outside of my box on the right. So this is my upper quartile, which is 35. And my lower quartile is the left side of my box, which is 15. So I'm going to take 35 minus 15, which gives me 20. Number 9 says, what is the median of the data represented in the dot plot below? So we have to write out all of our numbers, all of our dots. So I have 21, 21. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 22s. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 23s. And I have 124. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So when I hop in, I'm going to end up hopping, hopping, hopping. I end up with 23. So 23 is my median. Number 10, this is a circle graph one. So for my circle graph, it says, Mr. Brown makes $350 a week. How much money does he spend on entertainment each week? And then we have our circle graph here. And the hint tells us we have to find out the percent for entertainment because it just says X here. So to do that, we're going to add up all of the other percents. So we're going to do 22 plus 25 plus 28 plus 12, and that gives us 87. Then we have to take that number and we have to subtract it from 100 because remember a circle graph is 100%. That gives us 13. But is that how many dollars he spent? Nope, that's the percentage. So he spends 13% on entertainment. That's 13%. We want to know how much money he spends, and we know he spends $350 a week. So we have to take that $350 and multiply it by 13 as a decimal. So we're going to take 13 and we're going to hop 2 places to the left. So we get 0.13. And if we type that into our calculators, we're going to get 45.5. But that doesn't make sense with money. With money, we have to have 2 digits behind the decimal point. So we have to put a 0 there. So it's 45.50. So C is your answer. Question 11 says, which of the following statements accurately describes the data displayed in the dot plot below? Select all that apply, and there's 3 answers. So when we look at our dot plot, we have to figure out and decide, is the distribution right skewed? So does it go towards the right? Does it get bigger as we go towards the right? Does it get bigger as we go towards the left? Is it in the middle? Is it symmetric? Are both sides about even with the middle high? So we'd want to choose one of these 3 is going to be the right answer. And to know if it's right skewed or left skewed, you start and you see. If I start at the right and start at the left and I move over, does it get taller as I move to the right? If the answer is yes, then that means it's right skewed. To figure out the mean, I'm going to have to add up all of my numbers. So when I add up all of my numbers, I get, so I'm going to add up all of my numbers, and when I add up all of my numbers, I'm going to get 124. So if I add up all my numbers, I get 124. And then I have to divide by the amount of numbers I have. And a lot of times I have students that don't want to include this 0 because when you add 0 into the data, when you do your adding, it doesn't change it, but it still counts as a data point. So when we count up all of our dots, we have 23 dots, so we divide by 23. And in your calculator, you're going to get this big, long, nasty number, 5.391, ... It keeps going on. So if the option is the mean is approximately 5.4, if I look at my number 5.39, well, in the tenths place, it's a 3. But if I look behind it, that 9 would tell me that that 3 is going to end up going up. So it would end up being 5.4. So my mean is approximately 5.4. Then to figure out if the median's right or the mode is right, because we already have 2 that are right. So I can look at the mode and see, is 0 my mode? Does it appear the most? It doesn't, so I know that's not right. But I need to check and make sure that my median is actually 6. So I'm going to write my data out. And when I write my data out, then I'm going to hop in. And when I hop in, I get 6 as my median. So I get 6 as my median. So I know that E is the other correct answer. All right, the next question says, Shirley has a circle graph that is 42% black, 23% red, and 10% yellow. If the rest of the graph is green, then what percent of the circle graph is green? Circle each answer that is correct. There's going to be 2 answers. So what I have to do is I have to add up the amount of black, the amount of red, and the amount of yellow. So I'm going to do 42 plus 23 plus 10. And when I add all those up, I get 75. But that doesn't tell us what percent of the circle graph is green. That tells us what all of the other parts of the graph are. So we have to do 100 minus 75 to give us 25%. So remember, there's 2 answers, so we can clearly see 25% is one of those answers. But remember, we talked about this week that a percent can be written as a fraction if we put it over 100. And you guys will see, did they simplify this? They didn't. So it's easy to see that 25 over 100 would be your other answer. All right, the last question on the study guide, number 13. It says, Suzanne and Jason live on different streets. They're collecting data on how many gallons of water per day the residents of their streets use. This data is shown below. So it gives Suzanne's street and Jason's street. So that's just all information about our question. Now we get to our actual question. It says, on average, do the residents of Suzanne's street or Jason's street use more gallons of water per day? Use your calculations to explain. So when you see that word average, that's the mean. When we find the mean, we find the average. So I'm going to add up all of Suzanne's numbers, and I end up getting 710, but that's not my mean. I have to divide that by 8. I divide by 8 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people that she took data on, and that equals 88.75. And then I add up Jason's street, and I get 859. But I'm dividing that by 10 because Jason has 10 data numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when I divide that, I get 85.9. So now I'm looking at these two numbers to see which is my bigger number, 88.75 or 85.9. So 88.75 is bigger, so that would mean that Suzanne Street uses more water. So we would put Suzanne's Street uses more water, and it says to explain, so we have to put because her average is higher. Now your sentence doesn't have to be exactly like that, but that's an example of a sentence you could have.